Nelson Too and I joined the army in 1974. Harry Johnson, so many of our colleagues were killed in cold blood because of phantom coup that was designed by the junta leader himself, simply because they were not in favor of his of the prolongation of his military rule. So I wanted this government to go, but I didn't know how. So that was the case with me. Now, in his desire, in an attempt to perpetuate his rule, the army at the time was a broad-based army. The armed forces of Liberia consisted of all the tribes. But he began to remove the Guild and Manon, and he began to move other tribes that sympathized with Kwankwa. He removed them and replaced them, and the army became predominantly the Crown tribe. At the time he wanted to stay, he did all of this thing here. As time went on, he suspected Kwankwa being a brave man, being a great man, most popular in the revolution among his colleagues, among the people of Liberia. They admire him. He transferred General Kwankwa from the position of a commanding general to that of the Secretary General, and Kwankwa refused. And that brought problem between Doe and Kwankwa's life was very threatening. Kwankwa had to go to America. He went abroad. He left the country because his life was threatened. Kwankwa remained in the United States until Dr. Fambula, Harry Greaves, and Philip, and so many of them. They went to America and they encouraged Kwankwa to come back. His wife, Tala, was very scared. And they told her that Kwankwa will not die, your husband will not die. We will make sure that he removed the government and you will return home, because where you are in the United States is not your home. And they encouraged his wife, Tala, Mrs. Kwankwa, to let the husband go. It was 1985, November 12, that Kwankwa finally came to Liberia. At that time, I was in the Ministry of National Defense, G2 Office, Chief of Defense Intelligence for Operation. And we knew what was happening, but to whom will we tell our information? I was already not in favor of the regime, because the regime was killing its own babies. So Thomas Kwankwa came in 1985 with Dr. Fambula and his group, Joe Wale and others, Joseph Beer, Imaiwa Dennis, there were so many. At the point of crossing from the Manon River Bridge, Joe Wale shot Joseph Beer in the back. Whether it was a mistake or intentional, he needs to explain that. I didn't hear that from him when he was on the stand here. But said Joseph Beer was a military strategist of the invading force, upon whom Kwankwa largely depended. And they crossed. Where exactly was Kwankwa, I cannot say, I don't know. Whether he was with them, if he was with them, then he made a mistake, because when you are leading a military force and you are leaving the friendly area to the enemy zone, upon contact with the enemy, you have to give a head count to know how many wounded, how many missing in action, how many die in action, and how many you still got alive to move on to the next stage of the operation. But that didn't happen. And so when General Kwankwa entered Monrovia, he named Joseph Beer as a commanding general. That is to tell you that he didn't even know that Joseph Beer was killed at the border. So that is where I'm going to tell my story, November 12, 1985. Johnson, Prince Johnson, and the events. On the morning of November 12, citizens of Monrovia had a rude awakening by the sounds of machine guns, fire, and rocket-propelled grenades, vibrating from the Executive Mansion, the home of the President, and also the Liberia Broadcasting Corporation, LBS. Shooting persisted throughout the morning until General Kwankwa's voice was heard on television and on radio. I am General Thomas Kwankwa. The government of Samedo has been overthrown. Though it is in hiding, there is no escape for him. The National Patriotic Forces have taken over the reins of power. We do not want bloodshed. The officers and men of the armed forces of Liberia are hereby ordered to disarm and remain in the barracks. We have sufficient manpower to attack the country by land, sea, and air. Now, this speech that General Thomas Kwankwa read was prepared by Dr. Fambula just before they invaded the country. That he didn't need to depend on the armed forces of Liberia. Why did he do this? Because they wanted to neutralize Kwankwa. They wanted to keep him in isolation, because there was a coup d'etat among the very group that came to remove Doe. Now let me elaborate. The group that came was 35 in number. protected Sierra Leoneans that were given them by President Momo of Sierra Leone upon the influence of Dr. Fambula, who has a Sierra Leone connection. And there were only 5 Liberians. The 5 Liberians were Joseph Biya, Emmanuel Dennis, Kopa Tia, Kwangba himself, and Makui, Major Makui. These were the 5. And so the plan was, look, don't encourage the armed forces to come near the general. If the general should succeed in killing Doe, then you guys should kill Kwangba immediately and invite me to take the reign of power. And then let the world know that Kwangba died in action. And that was the plan. And so when they came to Monrovia, I went to join them. I was at my house that morning when the sound of gun began to vibrate. I saw 2 journalists, my colleagues, my friends. We lived together, and for many years we knew each other. And that is, what is it, Charles Bayon, and another guy, Kwame Clement. They came to my house and said, Johnson, there's a shooting at the station. We would like to go there, but we are afraid. And I said, okay, if you are afraid, then you wait, we go together. So I went with them to make sure it was really Kwangba speaking or not. When I got to the radio station, this is the time I met General Thomas Kwangba. I met him at the time he was leaving the radio station himself, coming out, when the Sierra Leone guy arrested me and disarmed me. Because people were not to take guns in there other than those who already came to the country. So when Kwangba came, he asked him to return my guns and asked me to join them. So I was happy to join them because, as I told you earlier, I had a predetermination in my mind long before they did a Kwangba to join any group of people to move the government that was killing its own babies, lie on its own babies and killing them. So this, I felt, was my opportunity, was the best chance. So I joined Thomas Kwangba. But when I joined General Thomas Kwangba, I was also taken aback. If he came to really revolutionize this country, to overthrow the government that he felt was so oppressive, I wonder why he had to go all the way, saying no bloodshed, soldiers return to the barracks, we do not want bloodbath. And he also said if people shoot anyone, those people will be immediately executed. What if the group he was depending on by air, by land, by sea, if they had come, I wonder if they won't kill. Because there is no revolution that has ever been staged that I know in Africa without bloodshed. You must shed blood. Those people you are going to remove from power will defend. They won't take it lightly with you. So if you don't succeed, they get rid of you. So the blunders that were created made Kwangba to go into hiding when he heard about the death of Joseph Biya, when he heard about the counter coup, the coup that was in, the very coup that they brought. He could not stand it any longer because he had already left the radio station, and he had heard that the AFL troop was very close to the radio station, and there was no way to go back there to tell the AFL that he wants to disarm and return to the barracks to come once again to his aid. He could not do so. So Kwangba said goodbye to me, and he was leaving. I didn't know where he had gone to. I thought he went to BDC. When I rushed to BDC, I couldn't see him. I came back to the station. They were shooting. Then I left to go to the 72nd to get the ammo personnel carrier because I can drive it. And I got one good guy to shoot a 50 caliber that was mounted there. And I went with one guy they call Rabo Ratti. He's always with Ambassador George Weah. We both went together in the car. He drove the car. When we got there, I took one of the grenades I had on me and I put it in my pants. I was taking a risk because if the pin had dropped, I would be blown out. But I had it there. And so when we got to the 72nd, we saw the soldiers standing up, very quiet looking, and the place was so silent. And I asked for Lieutenant Glenn. Lieutenant Glenn was the one that General Kwangba named that morning as the commanding officer of the 72nd Battalion. So when I went in, he was sitting behind his desk, and soldiers surrounded him, and I thought they were the bodyguards. And I told him, Lieutenant Glenn, I'm here, the radio station is on fire. I want to recapture it. I can regroup the AFL and capture it. But he couldn't answer me. He was just sitting down. I did everything to communicate with him, whatever way, no way. Then I suspected something was happening. By the time I could come out, the soldier grabbed me right at the door. They took up my shirt and took off my boots, and Mark Sharp. You all know Mark M. Sharp, Colonel Mark Sharp. He was there with Colonel Peter Solo, and they were arguing among themselves. Some said, let's shoot this man. And the other said, no, this man, when we come by in the morning, we saw this man. If we kill him, we wouldn't know where Kwangpa is hiding. Let us not kill him. He will have to explain detail of how the invaders came. So they were arguing, and somebody said, look, let's handcuff the man. And then I just show my hand like this, and they handcuffed me in the front. I handcuffed, I had no key. No one there had a key. It was only one soldier that had a handcuff, and they handcuffed me in the front, and that was it. And Peter Solo said, look, let's take the man to Camp Suffering and have him executed. Then Marshall said, no. Marshall and Peter Solo said, no, let us take the man to BDC, put him in the stockade, and then tonight we will do his job. That means to kill me at midnight. So they put me in the armored personnel carrier, and with soldiers on top. And we drove from 72nd through Ghana's Way, through the Freeport area, and we got to the bridge, Tucker Bridge. And when we crossed the bridge, I thought we were going straight to BDC. They too were afraid because they didn't know what was ahead of them. So we went to Slipway. I did not know that the AFL had a branch established there by Colonel Mark Sharp. So they took me there, and he got down with few soldiers to go in the house to communicate to headquarters in BDC, with headquarters in BDC, whether the road, everything was quiet, whether BDC was under control of the AFL. He wanted to get the information. So as I was sitting there, the handcuff was matching my hand, going to my flesh. I put my hair up, trying to look at the Dove River so I could jump on and swim.